Welcome back, everybody, to another lovely Sunday. It's July 23rd already. Can you believe it? This summer is just going by, especially when you're filming about a month in advance. And you're like, how the heck can it be July already? It's not. It's not even like midway through June. But that's okay, because next week I'm moving, and life is gonna change in a good way. I hope. I'm sure it'll be fine. Ah! Sorry, something hit me. So last week we talked about one of our espers, and that one I had actually researched, so I had a lot of source material to read to you. Unfortunately, I do not have time to do all the research I would like to do. And so the next few Sundays are going to be a little bit weak. For the rest of July and August, that is. Hopefully you will forgive me. You can't see my face, but I'm giving you like a really sweet puppy grin and like puppy eyes. Please forgive me. Puppy dog. So yeah, we'll be fine. Oh, that's not the way I wanted to go. So we'll figure out something interesting to say, I think. But if it's a little less well-sourced than usual, that's why. However, that means that you can leave a comment and say, hey, what's your source for that? And I will go back and research and give you some good reading to do. And make me correct myself if I totally goofed. Not that I ever goof when speaking from the top of my head. I'm sure you as well have never forgotten something that you learned or gotten a name confused. So anyway, I think this week I'm kind of looking at a list of topics that I have made. So let me take a moment to count. So I did the one last week, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with a lot of weird things to talk about. It's okay. We'll figure it out. But this week we're gonna talk about Ixion. So we're just gonna kind of continue our Esper talk, focusing in particular on some beautiful guys from Final Fantasy X, the Aeons, and I really do love Final Fantasy X. So that is not a lie. Bye bye bye. I don't know why that song came to my head now. So anyway, Ixion is not a very common Aeon, Esper, whatever. In fact, he might only be in 10? That might be true. He had something of a cameo in 15, because when Rama appears, he has a staff that has Ixion's head on it, which is creepy, but cool also. So that's maybe Ixion's only appearance. Because usually the lightning god is, as I just said, Rama. They don't really use different ones. So it's very interesting to me that they didn't go with Rama for Ixion. I mean, in 10. Maybe it's because they wanted more animal style espers, you know, because Valor is flying and Ifrit's whatever Ifrit is. Shiva's always humanoid. You kind of can't have a game without Shiva. And who else could they have chosen? Who else is in that game? Bahamut. Oh, it's a dragon. We're gonna talk about Anima probably next week, and Anima's a Venus flytrap / person. I don't know how else to describe Anima's appearance. Yojimbo's a person, but also unique to 10. Which Espers am I forgetting? I feel like I must be forgetting some. I guess there were. I mean, the Magus sisters. Okay, they're human. I'm kind of trying to go through the whole pilgrimage and see who I forgot. I think I got most of them anyway. So maybe they just wanted kind of a mix of more animal ones instead of having more humanoid ones. And if you're going to have Rama, he's going to look basically the same that he always looks. So. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure why they decided to diverge from formula here, and also why they decided to go with Ixion. But it is very interesting all the same. So Ixion is a character from Greek mythology. Ixion is one of the early humans. And what do I mean by that? Just like there are generations of gods, so too there are generations of humans. And certain humans, the earlier they're born, the closer relationship they have to the gods, right? So the first few generations of humans are basically like gods. And maybe I'll talk about the Golden Age and cyclical stuff at one point, but not right now. But Ixion was one of the... I guess he's probably one of the first generations after the flood. Seems right. And he was very, very close to the gods. They were buddies. Because again, this generation, most of them hung out with the gods in some capacity. It's pretty cool. Except for it generally ends up terrible for everybody involved. So I guess there's that. But, ignoring that, Ixion also has the, how shall we say, the problematic honor of being the first man to commit murder. I don't actually remember off the top of my head who it was that Ixion killed. But nevertheless, that's his claim to fame originally. And, you know, at the time, like, he had a wife and, you know, pretty normal life and everything going on. Zeus may or may not have slept with his wife, I don't really remember. Zeus. Just assume that he does, right? So, sorry, let me adjust the mic. So, so Ixion commits the first murder. And in the Greek world, particularly in Greek myth, if you commit a homicide, you have to go somewhere else for a cleansing. When you commit a murder, you're covered in pollution, which is known as miasma, and you have to go get the miasma taken care of before it infects everyone, especially your own home. And that's why you actually have to leave home, because you are pollution. Miasma means pollution. So, he does that, but whereas most people would go to a neighboring town and get her done, Ixion is of the generation where he actually gets to go hang out with Zeus. So he goes to Zeus for the cleansing of his miasma. Because they're bros or something. And so, on the one hand, this perfectly displays the Greek ritual of cleansing pollution. On the other hand, while Ixion is hanging out with Zeus in his palace, because he's on Olympus, because this is way back when gods and people hung out and things were cool. Nevertheless, well, when he was doing this, this sets up the bond of Xenia. And Xenia is the term for guest-host friendship. And this is probably the most important thing in the Greek world. If you are a good Greek, you will be a good host. And it's still kind of true if you've ever gone to Greece and, like, hung out with people. Like, they will take care of you. And it's not just because they're very nice to tourists, although that might play into it some. But I have never felt more welcome in a foreign country than I do in Greece. Anyway, so Xenia plays into this. And Xenia has a few laws, but it's pretty simple. It's like, be a good guest, right? I mean, that's the most important thing. And being a good guest just means, you know, respecting your host. And when you're there, you know, follow all the household rules. And there's generally some sort of exchange of gifts. That's really important in the Greek world. And again, still important when my colleagues lead groups abroad. They have to take little gifts with them to give to the people that they meet. And you also cannot refuse a gift from a Greek because you will greatly offend them. In my experience, right? Not all the Greeks and whatnot, but... So that's what Ixion's in this Xenia relationship. But he decides to be a bad guest. And he wants to sleep with Zeus's wife, Hera. And Zeus kind of finds out about this and tests Ixion. And what Zeus does is make a cloud form of Hera just to kind of see what Ixion does. And Ixion, not realizing that the cloud is a cloud, takes Cloud Hera to bed. Yeah. This is bad for a couple reasons. First of all, Ixion and Cloud Hera have some babies. And their babies are the Centaurs. And so that is why Ixion in Final Fantasy X has the form of a horse. He is associated with the Greek Centaurs, which are part man, part horse. So that's happening. Zeus also punishes Ixion with eternal torment. He's one of the people in the bad part of the underworld. And Ixion's punishment is he's tied to a wheel and turned around for all eternity. Yeah, it's pretty unpleasant. Not maybe the worst, but not great either. I don't know what the worst is. I don't even think about it. So I don't really know how that part of the story plays into Ixion. And it is very interesting that Ixion has lightning powers, because lightning is really a Zeus thing. Right? You are probably aware that Zeus is the god of storms and thunder and lightning. And yeah. Now suddenly Ixion has his powers, so there's a little bit of a blending there happening. Another interesting thing is that his attack is Thor's hammer. I'm not going to go into detail with that one, but holy blending of mythology, Batman. Yay. What's the term for it? I know this term because I teach it in my classes. Because when you use mythology, you can either be engaging in cultural diffusion or syncresis. Syncresis is where you blend elements, and so 10 has a lot of syncresis where different versions of myths kind of get blended into one. So, oh, we have a lightning guy, so that's Thor, right? Yeah, totally. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on Ixion. He's always been a fascinating figure, both in mythology and in 10. So I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about the reasoning behind his features. If you have any more questions, be sure to leave me a comment below. And, you know, if you want me to expand on something. And also, if you would like to ask me any other questions, all you have to do is leave a comment or tweet at me at Interceptor Ismai, and I will do what I can to answer all your questions. But until then, have a lovely summer and a lovely Sunday. Interceptor out.